Hi everyone, this is Penguin Trades. We're looking at the ES futures on a 500 tick chart with a 21 EMA. So we've got our overnight high up here and our overnight low down here. These are our key levels for the day. I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. So when I started trading, this uptrend has a break. When an uptrend gets a break, we can expect prices to at least attempt a new high. And that's what we get here. So this is the break. This trend, of course, pushes us into the break. And we get our first attempt at a new high and then our second attempt at a new high. Now, these two attempts at a new high for this uptrend are, of course, smaller picture. We could still get something on a larger picture, which we end up getting, which I'll go over in a second. And so when price makes these two attempts at a new high for the break of this uptrend here, we have to understand that it's also a two-legged break of this downtrend. And we have to consider this downtrend as well. And so at this point, when price has made this second leg up, we have the two attempts for the uptrend, which means that we could look to get in on a new high failure. And also, it's a two-legged break of this downtrend, which means that we can expect prices to attempt a new extreme, to attempt a new low, just like we were expecting for this uptrend. So the goal here at this point is to catch the move to the new low for this downtrend / the failure to make a new high for the uptrend. So we have the failure for the uptrend and the expectation of the new low for the downtrend at this point. So all we need is a good setup. We end up not getting a good setup, but if we could just push below the EMA here, make a couple legs back, and actually form a failed second entry from this swing, that could give us a great short, and we would just want to ride it down to this measured move. And one thing I want to point out, of course, is this spike in channel, just in case someone might be wondering about it. Why isn't this leg drawn from all the way up here? And that's because it's a clear spike in channel. And so this two-legged move, and let me back up. When you get a spike in channel, it's very, very common that the second leg in the channel, after the break of the channel, follows from where the channel started, not necessarily the spike. So every now and then, especially, in areas where, like in this case here, we just had an overshoot. Overshoots lead to very strong breaks, and so that's likely what led to this spike. And then, of course, after the initial spike, it mellows out, goes into a healthier channel. And so, anyway, I just wanted to explain that's why I have these two legs drawn like this. And so, anyway, price doesn't give us an entry here, but it pushes on down. We have these two legs down at that point. And so, at this point, when it starts finding resistance right here, it's pretty clear that this is a valid two-legged move. And at this point, the downtrend has also, of course, played out. We have a break up to here, chops around for a while, and then we have two clear legs to a new low, perfectly down to that measured move. Now, at this point, yes, the downtrend has played out, which means that we're more likely to start looking for longs. But we also need to consider that it's a clear two-legged break of this uptrend, so we could really get something soon for a long. And when price starts pushing up here, we can look to get in on a failed second entry, so long as we have room to this. This is a valid concern right here, this wider channel that's forming, and we would just want room to it. And in this case here, we don't get the failed second entry. We just get this lower high, this higher low right here, which personally I don't like, because I would want to see a full-on reversal pattern in this area, just because we do have, it has been pretty bearish. We just spiked off the overnight high, and even though this is a valid two-legged move right here, it is worth considering that there is a wider measured move in play. These, on a bigger picture, this will come into play. And so it is worth considering that we do have a larger down measured move in play, and I would just want to see a more, a full-on reversal pattern, not just a higher low. So anyway, price pushes up. Once it breaks this right here, this green trend line, we could get something similar. If we can get a couple legs back, we can look to get long to ride prices up to the highs right here. But we do need to be careful. We wouldn't want to enter long after it reaches the highs, because once it reaches the highs, the range rules are in play, and we can expect price to attempt to reach back down to the lows. And so as soon as it touches here, it's no longer valid for a long, but it pushes up, we get a break, reaches a new high. So you can see this uptrend here plays out very typically, and then makes two attempts to reverse, makes this great looking failed second entry. Unfortunately, I was not able to get in on this. I just wasn't quite focused at the market open today. But it makes a great failed second entry, first entry long down to there, second entry long, and then failure, clear hold under the EMA, right after a trend play out, and a clear hold on this range high right here. So that looks great for a short. If you got that, that's great. Makes our second leg down, so 2 attempts to reverse from this small uptrend playing out. But there's also another thing we need to consider. This uptrend playing out, this whole move up overall, is a bigger picture new high attempt for this uptrend. So at this point here, when price stalls on the reversal down and it starts holding up at this measured move, we have a clear 2-legged break from this uptrend. And so we have an uptrend break, a 2-legged break. We can expect price to attempt a new high on a bigger picture still, even though we had the initial 2 attempts here which failed. As soon as this failure stalled at this measured move, we can look for the bigger picture move. And so anyway, price pushes up. This is overall the first big picture new high attempt. We get our correction down, typical 2-legged correction. It played out with the smaller trend as I explained, but overall it's forming something bigger. And so we have our first attempt up here, 2-legged correction, second attempt up, and then failure. So compare this failure here to this failure here. We have 2 much smaller new high attempts and a much smaller failure. Here we have 2 much larger new high attempts and a much stronger failure. And so anyway, price pushes on down here. This is another good spot for a failed second entry. Kind of like what we got here. If we can get one on the way down here, that would be great. We end up not getting one. We just get a push down, break, new low. So you can see how this trend plays out here. We have our downtrend, break, new low, and then price makes 2 small attempts to reverse. I know that it's obviously there's not even a tick lower, but you can see with the bodies here, green, red, green, so that means up, down, up. And so we have 2 attempts to reverse, and then we get a clear failure here. Now, I wouldn't enter on that. It's not big picture enough. I just see it as 1 leg up, basically. But it does end up making that failure, and we get a second leg down right from here. And so as you can see, we have this first leg down, break, second leg down, and this is directly off of the second leg failure. And so this is a major measured move level that's very important. And so first off, before we continue, I just want to mention, just like I explained with this channel right here with these 2 legs down, I ended up extending it from that same swing. And so right at this measured move, we're also reaching this purple measured move. And so anyway, price pushes up here. We get a good reaction, but it rejects the EMA, which is not ideal for a long. So it starts to just go very choppy here. It can't get below this purple this purple measured move level and this in the EMA. And so it just goes sideways. You can see it makes a failed second entry from this low here. We have first entry short and then second entry short up to the high of this bar. And then, of course, the failure occurs right there, and it just takes off, but there's no real way to get in on that safely. Even when it pokes up here and actually manages to get above the EMA, you're just entering directly on that second leg, and, this channel right here is so thin, we could expect a new low for that. I just wouldn't want to risk that, but it does push on up. We fade the range low here. As soon as it fades, we make this retest, we make another attempt. It looks like it was forming a failed second entry, like first entry short, second entry short, and then possibly the failure to occur there, but ended up just pushing right on down, retesting the measured move level. Measured move levels act as magnets, so these are important levels that tend to get retested. And so it retests it there. We push on up, makes our second bigger picture leg up. So first leg up to here, break, second leg up. As soon as price reaches this measured move right here, it has a very good reaction to it. Now, obviously, it doesn't take off in the bearish direction, but it has a very clear reaction, and so it's just worth pointing out again, these measured move levels, you must learn how to master them. It is very important for your trading. And so anyway, price pushes on up here. Now, when price breaks a measured move level, like in the case of this, say it's right after a strong failure, and we manage to get through the measured move level, we would want to see a 2-legged retest on top of this level here. And we just don't get that. You can see to the tick, we technically have a second entry long right there. And I understand that it takes off once it reaches it, but it's just not big picture enough for me personally. I like to see much more separation in the legs. It really depends on the context. Sometimes I take smaller picture trades like that, but I'm not going to be doing that at the end of a 2-legged move, even if it is on a retest. You see, I would want to see 2 legs fully like that retesting it. Like I would want to see price reach all the way up to here and then make 2 legs down, retesting that level. Now, obviously, in this case here, it would be close with the channel high, the range highs, which I can actually extend to here. But the point is, I would want to see two bigger picture legs that are about that size right there, retesting it, not just, two very small legs split between that. So anyway, price pushes up here. It doesn't quite reach that high, and then we get this very bearish reaction, and we push right back below this measured move right here. We shoot below. This is a place where we could get a failed second entry. We could actually get short underneath this level on a failed second entry retest, but it just doesn't occur here. We only end up getting this lower high. And, considering, we did just have these spikes back in, it did just fade, I would want to see a full-on reversal pattern. It also looks like, there could be something like this going on. And so, we can get in on that reversal pattern. It's still kind of bullish looking. Overshoots tend to lead to breaks, so overshooting this uptrend right here actually helps with getting short. But I would want to see a full-on reversal pattern, a clear failed second entry. And so anyway, price pushes on down, ends up just breaking right out of this range right here. It breaks out, makes one last fade attempt, and then it just takes off to the downward direction. And you can see we have this first leg it's kind of hard to see this color here, which I'm going to just change that real quick. So we have that first leg down here, and then that second leg down to here. And then let me grab that measured move level right here. And so we have these two legs down. Price is breaking out of the range low right here. It's the second leg. Now at this point we have a downtrend with a break and a new low, so the downtrend is played out. The measured move is still in play, but the downtrend is played out, and so we need to see a clear two-legged move higher with a good hold in order to get short, which we just don't get. And you can see here we have an uptrend here, and you kind of got to draw it right, but we got an uptrend, we got a break, we got a new high attempt, and then a failure, and then that launches price down. But that is absolutely not enough for me to enter right after the trend played out. And so I skip that here. We push on down, price reaches this measured move level, ends up pushing right on through it, and then we get this first leg back, second leg back, and then we get a good hold below the EMA here. Now, it did not trigger immediately on this one. It ended up making this bullish bar, which I didn't want to see, but it ended up ticking above and then just shooting straight out the lows. So it was a very quick failure entry, which I really liked a lot there. So anyway, again, just a two-legged retest, good bearish reaction, third bounce off this trend line, and a retest of this measured move level. So I really liked that there, just to ride down to the previous swing. So anyway, we get this leg down, and then we get a couple legs up, just trying to retest again, ends up making that small retest, another push lower, and then finally at this point we managed to break this channel here. So when price breaks out, you can see it makes a very small two-legged break. So first leg up, break, second leg up, so that's your two-legged break, and then it makes its new low. So downtrend, break, new low. Typically that's how they play out, and then we get a reversal attempt higher, which has a failure, which that failure ends up making the second measured leg down for the new low. So it's very common to see two legs to a new extreme, regardless of whether the first leg makes the new extreme or not. And so anyway, that's what we have here. And when price starts pushing down again, it's pretty clear, price does not want to move higher here. It's rejected this measured move level many times at this point. And so when we push down, we have to think, even though it's been rejecting this level, this is a more, significant measured move that it's reaching, so things could change. And so what I'd like to see in this area is price to push up, get above the previous measured move level, and go into a full-on reversal pattern, a failed second entry. And so that's what I would like to see in this area here. These two legs down that I would want to see would also be the two attempts at a new low for the downtrend break. This wider thing that's forming. Of course, at this point, these two swings would barely, it would really just be from this swing. It would barely be a full-on channel at that point if it did manage to break there, but it is worth pointing out. And so anyway, we don't get that reversal pattern. Of course, as you can see, we just push on lower, and we end up reaching this right here, what is that right there? I'm trying to remember why I have this measured move level drawn. Where is that from? I think it's from Oh yeah, that's right. So those two previous measured move levels that I just got rid of, we had these bigger picture levels forming. So again, we had this leg down and then this leg down. Price ended up bursting straight on through that. And so if price ignores the measured move levels and just continues on down, then of course we have to look to extend the levels and combine previous legs into larger structures, and that's exactly what we do here. So we have this first leg down, combines these two initial legs, reversal attempt, the failure, and then of course we put the second leg right at the failure. And so this is where that measured move level goes to. Price ends up breaking right on through it. As you can see, we're just continuing in this wider channel here. And so when price starts pushing up, we can look to get short on it, but we also need to consider, hold on, sorry. When you have so many channels, especially ones that like this that are big, when you make a review at the end of the day, it can be easy to forget to draw things how they were. So this wider channel was more like this. And so initially, when we got these two legs up, okay, that's right, sorry. I just keep forgetting because, I keep having to adjust how everything is drawn. So we have these two legs up to here, perfectly measured, and then we got this initial reaction. I did wait for a reaction. I didn't buy it directly on the measured move. I just wanted to see a very slight reaction, and then ended up getting filled. Price pushes on down, and then we just get out before these lows right here. And yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting where I was. So yeah, I went over all this, right? Yeah. And then we push on lower. We overshot, we make our two attempts back, we get a little reaction, and then I got short right there at the measured move, and then price pushes on down. Of course, I was wanting to get out before these swings right here, especially after an overshoot, and then price ends up holding off those lows. You can see we got a downtrend, small two-legged break, push to a new low, and then a strong reversal higher. And so when price pushes up here, we end up making this two-legged move up, and I tried to enter this. I think I recorded this too, so it'll be on the beginning of the video. But I barely didn't get filled on that, and then it just went off down to where, I wanted to go. And so we end up making this, very clear support forming here, but we're also going into this slight uptrend here. And so it's pretty clear that we're going into an uptrend after this swing pushes up here. We get these two legs up, and then we actually managed to break through that previous measured move level. But at that point, the trend is pretty clear, and I don't want to enter short directly, into that previous trend line right there as well. And so we end up not getting anything here. Again, I don't want to enter into that level. It's also right after spiking above, getting more bullish, so I just skip everything here, and then price ends up pushing on up. We reach this measured move level here, which is of course this whole bigger combined leg. Initially it was just these two. Price failed, made another push higher, but then after price makes these attempts to push lower from here and fails, that's when we combine these legs into one, and we get this much bigger measured move level here. So as you can see, right when price reaches that measured move, we get a very bearish reaction, and when price starts pushing lower, we can look to get in on a failed second entry. There isn't a whole lot of room in this case here. We got to worry about the, this trend line right here, which is still holding at that point. Also, of course, this uptrend that's going by. But, if we have room to it, then you can look to get in on one, and it ends up just not forming one. It shoots straight down. We get this first leg down, breaks out of the range here, fade attempt, quick failure, makes our second leg down. And so overall, what price was doing was, with this trend, which is the overshoot of the wider trend, this trend got a two-legged break and then two pushes down to a new low. So this trend played out very typically. Now, after price holds and then, like say it overshoots, attempts to reverse, and then continues lower, that's when you want to look to extend your channel and then just see how price ends up reacting to it later, which of course it does, as you can see. And so after price, overshoots and then fails to fully reverse, then you extend it. And so anyway, price pushes on down. We got that first leg down, the fade which like I said, quickly failed. And as price is pushing lower, we can look to get in on a failed second entry from here. Like say price pushes lower, makes a couple legs back. This would be a great place to get in on one because we already have the measured move in play. We have the larger red measured move in play, which looks like it got a little messed up. There we go. So that's our first leg down, break, second leg down. And so we end up not getting that. It just makes a lower high, then we push lower, and then it makes this lower high once we make a new low, which is of course not ideal for entering. You don't want to enter directly into the new low, but price does end up pushing lower and reaching this measured move. It actually barely misses the red one, which I thought was kind of funny, but it reached this smaller one and then got a very bullish reaction. And so we'll need to consider at this point wider trend lines, because even though we're reaching this measured move and measured moves lead to reversals, we have to consider it's been bearish literally all day. So we can't just, buy the second it breaks this channel here. So what I would want to see at this point is a clear failed second entry reversal pattern holding above the EMA, very bullish, great signal bar, all that, in order to get long. And in this case here, we don't get that. We just make this higher low. I don't like it. It pushed below the EMA. Not great for a reversal higher, especially when it's been bearish all day. So, nothing there. And then on that second leg down, it just shoots below the EMA. So really nothing there. But we do finally reach this larger measured move at that point. Sometimes it'll barely miss it and then end up needing to retest it and then take off to the tick from reaching it. And so, as price is pushing lower, I'm thinking it could mean that maybe we just need to reach this measured move down here and then get a more significant reversal. But what ends up happening is price pushes up, starts rejecting the EMA, gets very choppy, and then, we make that second leg up, but, there's really nothing to get long on. It's still all below the EMA, even on that retest right there. And then we just make our second leg up. And so I don't want to enter short on this two-legged move up either, because it is a double test, or more like a triple test really, off of this measured move level. But it does end up pushing on lower from there. It ends up breaking out of the overnight low. As soon as it breaks out of the overnight low, initially it started holding right there, but it ended up spiking out, and then it ended up spiking back in just as fast as it spiked out. And we got a very significant fade, ended up finding resistance around this area here, kind of just at these swings. And we end up really not getting anything on the way up. There's no clear reversal pattern, and even if there was, we would have this to worry about. So it's just not the greatest area. Right here, this would really be our only chance for a good reversal pattern, and it ended up not happening, of course. But, we had a spike up, great push down. If we could have gotten a second leg down like that, then we would have had plenty of room for a long to, we would have had plenty of room for a long. It actually, the wider trend line was off that. So it just, as long as it breaks this and then makes the couple legs down, it could push up right from there and we can get long. But it ended up not doing it. And so we end up just getting a break, push to a new high, and then a reversal. So just a typical play out into a reversal. And of course, once that swing forms, that's when I extend that to here. And then we get, when price makes this failure, that puts us right into another strong downtrend, which gets a two-legged break, push to a new low, and so it very quickly plays out. So again, downtrend, break, new low. At this point, this downtrend is fully played out, and we can expect a reversal attempt. Price makes our first attempt to reverse here, second attempt to reverse here, and then we end up getting this bearish reaction to the reversal attempt. And I believe I recorded this trade as well. And so you can see that at the beginning, basically just entering on a reversal failure / fade failure, because when the downtrend plays out, it makes two attempts to reverse. The two attempts stalling tells you, price wants to continue down. It doesn't want to reverse higher. Even though the downtrend played out, it's simply not enough for it. It's rejecting the measured move. It's rejecting the reversal. And in this case here, it's rejecting the overnight high, which adds all the more to it. So I really like that here. We continue on lower, got out before these lows here, and then as you can see, it makes a two-legged move down just from the trade here. And as soon as price reaches that measured move, we reverse higher. Price attempts to fade again, barely gets in there before just shooting out the lows. And you can see we basically just push into a failed second entry. it doesn't really set up very well because it pushes straight down to a new low, and then the 2 legs up are not measured. In the case here, even though this downtrend just played out with a break to a new low, we got 2 reversal attempts that were measured with a good bearish reaction. In this case here, and of course also retesting the overnight low. But in this case here, it made a new low, and then the measured move higher is still in play. You know, it's not nearly met. It's only halfway through, and you know, it ends up rejecting the EMA. It's just not very great of an entry. I would want to see price actually reach the full measured move and retest. The chances of it retesting this are very high. The chances of you getting stopped out are very high because, you know, these measured moves are magnets. These overnight levels are magnets. And so if you have a measured move up to a overnight level right after a brand new low, you know, the chances of price retesting it are very high. So it's just not wise to enter short here. Now, we don't get a good long entry either on the way up, and then price, of course, ends up just spiking right on through, so really nothing once it reaches there either. One thing I want to point out is if you have 2 legs up like this, and then after that second leg up, price reacts and then goes past the previous swing, and then after going past the previous swing, but not the whole overall swing, and then spikes up, that's when you want to combine the 2 previous legs like that into one and then drag it over, and then you have a larger measured move. So anyway, price pushes up, retests it, goes straight back below the EMA, breaks back out. Really not great. It's only 1 leg. It's not a 2-legged retest or anything like that. So even when we do get this bullish reaction, it's just not good enough for me personally. We push up, make this new high, 2 attempts to reverse, very sharp reaction. So this uptrend right here, this is our more significant reversal area because it's been bearish all day. You know, it's started up here, and then it started slowly kind of getting more into this wedge from this channel here and this wider channel, or I mean this trend line. And then finally we broke out of that, so this is where it gets a little bit more bullish. So anyway, the uptrend plays out with a break and a new high, and then we get 2 sharp pushes back with a great bullish reaction. Now, here's the thing. I don't particularly like this trade. I think it actually looks all right to ride to the end of it. I didn't get in on it here, but I wouldn't want to take that as a full-on reversal. Like, I wouldn't take it like this, you know, expecting it to get past that because, again, it's been extremely bearish all day, and then right before the entry, the uptrend played out. You know, it's not like over here where the downtrend played out, except it's in an overall downtrend, and it's extremely bearish, and it's retesting a major level. In this case here, you know, it's been bearish all day, and then as soon as we get the bullish reversal, it instantly plays out before giving us the second entry. So that's why I'm not a fan of it here. I think it looks fine to ride to the highs, but not to push them out at all. And yeah, it basically turned down to the tick once it reached, you know, right that swing right there. But anyway, that led to a very bearish reaction. We got this push down. Wow, a lot has happened. So we go into this downtrend here. Of course, initially it's like this. We have a very thin downtrend. We get a break and 2 pushes down to a new low. So once we get these 2 legs down, or really once we get this first leg down, this downtrend is played out. But like I mentioned earlier, it's very typical to see price make the new low attempt in the form of 2 legs. And so that's why we get this correction up here. And then we copy the leg over and we get a perfect measured move reaction before, you know, spiking on higher there. And so price ends up spiking up, and, you know, it ends up not giving us a good reversal pattern. Doesn't even reach the overnight low, ends up just pushing right back down. And now when price starts pushing down here, it becomes pretty clear that overall this is just 1 leg. This is just 1 channel on a bigger picture. You can combine the first leg with the next 2 legs. You can draw it all as 1 leg, and it's pretty clear that we're getting that second major leg down right now. So it doesn't matter how many legs are within something. You know, it really has to do with the measured moves. The measured moves are legs. You know, you just got to learn how to combine previous levels, basically. So anyway, initially it played out, reversal attempt, the reversal failed, pushed below the EMA. You know, you can see initially from the uptrend, we got a 2-legged break, push up to a new high. You can really see the 2 attempts at a new high and then the strong failure. Price continues on down, and that failure right there is what gives us the second overall leg down. And so anyway, price continued lower here. I'm going to extend this channel now. Price continued lower. And then, you know, on the way down, if we can get a couple legs back, go into a failed second entry, like even from like right here, if we could have just gotten 2 clear legs back, we can look to get in on another leg down. But price ends up just making a break and then a very sharp spike down. So we can get something similar from here. So like say first leg down and then 2-legged break from there, which we do have a 2-legged break. They're just so thin and shooting above the EMA, and you know, it's pretty borderline with it being like a double bottom here, because you know we found resistance right here, dropped below, spiked up, and then found resistance right at that level again. And so with how, you know, spiking up it is, I actually don't like entering short there, but we could push lower from there and get a failed second entry and then get short. And yeah, and if you took this, you're on the right track. I mean, it's a second entry short with a bearish reaction on the high side of the count. You have a downtrend with a 2-legged break, so essentially a failed second entry. It's just too thin, especially in accordance with these previous legs, which, you know, especially with how we have a first leg down here, break, or second leg down. I would really want to see bigger picture legs just to confirm that it's genuinely a 2-legged break from this push down here. You know, it looks like it could just be reversing higher at that point. It's just a little iffy. I'd want to see something more concrete. But anyway, we push on down. You can see we end up getting this leg down here, reversal attempt, and then second leg down. And then, yeah, so downtrend, break, couple attempts at a new low, reversing on higher. But of course, it's important not to forget that all these legs, it doesn't matter how many legs there are, if you can zoom out and clearly see that it's forming a leg on a bigger picture, then it is. We're getting this 2-legged move down here. It, of course, you know, might end up rejecting this level here fully and going into a total reversal right here, which could offer a good entry. You know, you'd want to consider wider trend lines like this. But if price actually can manage to get out of this trend line and form a full-on reversal pattern, ideally it wouldn't make a double top like that, like I accidentally just drew it to, but if it could get a little lower, make a full-on reversal pattern, then we can absolutely look to get long on it. You know, we just got to consider things like this. We got to consider the wider channels. You know, we got to consider this swing right here. If it makes a perfect double top, and you know, like say price pushes right up to this level and then makes a failed second entry, it's not going to be as good because it's making a double top in an overall downtrend. That is a bearish pattern. And so if you get 2 legs down from that, it could just be, you know, price attempting to resume the downtrend, not necessarily a good 2-legged break. It might end up working like a 2-legged break, but if it makes, you know, a clear bearish reaction to that swing, then, you know, that's telling you something. That's telling you that overall price is bearish and you might not want to take that long. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I really hope this helped out. We're at like 30 minutes or something now. And yeah, so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut this video. I really hope it helped out, and I'll see y'all next time. Oh, and sorry, one thing I want to mention is I'm not going over the NQ just because for the sake of time, you know, like this is 33 minutes just on the ES. Some of the trade recordings are from the ES and the NQ. I trade the ES and the NQ. But lately I've just been, you know, as far as content, I've just been doing the ES just for the sake of time. You know, I like to put out what I can. But, you know, ultimately my own trading is the most important thing to me. So, you know, I try not to let running this YouTube channel or anything affect anything that I'm doing or distract me. And so, you know, basically what I'm thinking for now is I'm just going to be doing content on the ES, but that, you know, that is subject to change, and I can throw in extra stuff every now and then, but just generally, this is probably how it's going to be. But anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.